think we're in business here. There we go. So when we chat interest, okay, the interest we're going to start with is much simpler than the examples I was just talking about. We're just going to look at, hey, if I need to borrow some money and it's for this time, here's a number and that's how this is going to work. So, interest is the price you pay to borrow money. Or in some cases, the money you're going to be racking up when you're borrowing to other people and taking their interest. So, interest is the price you pay to borrow money, or the cost you charge to lend money. Okay? Most of the time we reflect it as a percentage. Simple interest earns money on what we call the principal. Now, not the principal like the ones that are down in the office, okay? Principal is the initial or the original amount of money that you started with. So it would be the amount of your loan or the amount of money you were loaning to someone else. And so when we chat simple interest, this is the formula we use. So we'll take a moment here to actually talk about what the different parts mean. So I stands for the interest earned. Okay, how much interest is going to rack up over whatever amount of time it is. P is going to be your principal, otherwise known as the original money that we started with, whether that we're earning interest on or paying interest out against. R is the percent rate as a decimal. So like we saw when we were working last unit, if you take a percent, if you divide it by 100, that will get you the decimal. So if it's 17%, you divide it by 100. That's going to be 0.17. If it's 8%, okay, 8 divided by 0.08. Let your calculator help you with that if you're not sure. And then T stands for time, but when we're talking interest, we talk in years. If the time is less than a year, we find a way to turn it into years. But we'll chat about that as we run into it. So, a couple of quick details that we got to keep in mind with this. Simple interest finds the interest only. So it doesn't take into consideration how much you borrowed and owe back. It's just the amount of extra that you're getting. To find the total value, you have to add the principal and the interest together. We wish that was not the case. That would make it much better for us, but hey, we got to do what we got to do. So, David made a $500 deposit into a savings account for 10 years. The account has an 8% simple interest rate. Okay, for these first couple, I want us to make sure we label everything. So let's see what we know here. So I'll put down my I, my P, my R, and my T. Made a $500 deposit. Okay, that's my principal. That's how much I started with. Into a savings account for 10 years. That's my time. The account has an 8% interest rate. Okay, reminder. Take the interest rate, divide it by 100. That will get you the decimal that you're looking for. You've got to remember that part. Otherwise, you'd be paying like 800% interest. It'd be more like the payday lender. And they don't tell us the interest because that's what we're trying to find. So, we're going to plug this into our formula. I don't know what I is. We're going to find out though. Interest equals principal times rate times time. Simple as multiplying those together. So what we found out is, over those 10 years, if David leaves his money in there at the same rate, he's going to earn $400 in interest. Now, that's not how much total is in his account. We'd be mad if that were the case, because I put in $500, I'm only getting $4? What the heck? No. You've got to add the principal and the interest. So David would have $900 in his account at the end. So, again, we just got to kind of watch a little bit. Let's do number 2, because I see a couple of oddball ones that I want to make sure we get to do. So let's see. Cain took out a 2-year loan. All right, so my time is 2. For $1,200, that's my principal, to buy a new laptop. Okay. The account has a 4% simple interest rate. Again, just divide your percentage by 4. That'll get you your decimal. So again, the interest is the missing value. So just like we did on the first one. I'm going to do my principal times my rate times my time. Let's see here. So to be able to get that laptop today, it's going to end up costing Cain an extra $96. Hopefully the laptop's not completely out of date by the time he comes up with the money. Now, I can't assume every time, though, that every time I do this, it's going to be interest is the magic number that I'm looking for. Sometimes this could change a little bit. So, let's say, I'm trying to find an oddball one here. Ooh, I see an oddball. Okay, let's come down to 8. Well, we're going to come back up, but I'm going to come back down here for a minute. Laura is saving for college. She earned $450 in interest. On her initial deposit of $1,000, her principal. Ooh, on a 60-month investment, be careful. 60 is not our T. 5. How'd you get that? That's right.
You said it. It's divide by 12.
Yeah, we're dividing by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. So 60 divided by 12 is 5 years. What was the interest rate? Ooh, we're changing things up a little bit. So the formula hasn't changed, but now where our numbers go have. So I know what I is. I know what P is. I know what T is, but I do not know what R is. So let's simplify a little once we get that written down. So 1,000 times 5 would be 5,000 times R. So now for my algebra 1ers, the minimum out there. What is my one last step to get R by itself? Divide by 5,000. And we're going to get a decimal. So let's see here. 450 divided by 5,000. 0.09, but that is not the answer. That's the decimal form, but we're asking what's the rate. Yeah. If we multiply that by 100, we get 9%. So it can move on us a little bit. Let's play one more twist, and then we're just going to get a little bit of practice in, and we'll call it good there. We'll tackle the rest tomorrow. Let's look at number 7. Angelina takes out a 3% simple interest loan. So get my rate. For 8 years. We're back to years. That's nice. To buy a bus and convert it into a tiny home. That's interesting. If Angelina paid $7,200 in interest, what is the principal amount of the loan? How much money did she get a loan for at the start? So again, just make sure you've got all the info, that you're plugging it into the right spot. So I equals, we do not know what the principal is, times the rate times the time. So all this stuff on the right that's there with P, we're going to go ahead and multiply that together. We want to simplify this down. And very similar to what we did in this other one, we're going to divide both sides by that 0.24 that's with my P. So our principal, or our starting rate, Angelina spent $30,000 on the bus to make a tiny home. But then to pay back $7,200 in interest. But we just want to know the principal. We don't want to add anything into that. So your